I wanted to tell this story. Yeah, I've never really told stories before in a public fashion. At least not in a long time. This story, I guess, we could start in the 1915s. It was a year where Woodrow Wilson was president. He had just showed the most racist movie ever in the White House. Miles away, a guy sees it in a theater and he decides, you know what? I'm going to model myself after this movie. I am going to go out and restart the KKK. The organization that had been dead since Grant destroyed it. And he spread it all the way through the South. But they were not satisfied with it just being in the South. See, they went around and they started calling themselves the Invisible Empire. And then they wanted to push up north. Well, there was a problem with pushing up north. They were not going to get by with the same tactics. I mean, that's not to say that the North wasn't racist in some way or another, but there was definitely a different level there. They had to move in with a different method. And so, Kansas was one of few states they picked to make their push up north, and they picked it because it's right in the center of the country. Kansas was going to be a hard push. You see, Kansas was called the Free State by a lot of people. In fact, it was called a Free State by a group of people who moved there called Exodusters. Exodusters were these African American men who moved to Kansas because they were allowed to buy property. They were not restricted from it. And Kansas was not going to be as racist as other states in the South, but at the same time, it wasn't completely crimeless of it. Kansas, you see, it still had segregated schools. Segregated schools in the way that would allow segregations only if the population was above 50,000. Then, of course, back then they wanted segregation to be different but equal. So every school had to have the same amount of quality to it. The other major problem the KKK would have with trying to take over Kansas, if they went in, just coming in with their same racist ideology, was that Kansas was a major part of what started the Civil War. Many people that were still alive in 1921 when they would make this attempt were still remembering that. They had grandparents that were in the Civil War. Some of them actually fought in the Civil War. And so for this group to come up that was marked as a Southern group, they had to come up with a different form of branding. And a different form of branding they did come up with. America for Americans. They started preaching this idea that was echoed by Theodore Roosevelt that said that if you called yourself another nationality and American, you could not. You could not say you were Italian American. You could not say you were British American. You could not say you were German American. You could only say you were American. And the argument was done this way because they knew that these people coming back from World War I were scared of losing their jobs to foreigners that were entering in. And their tactics worked. And it was working very well. Whole swaths of communities were being swept up and joining up with this cause of the KKK. Completely thinking that they were just moving in this group that's there to stop this massive immigration from coming in and stealing their jobs. The thing is, though, by modeling Theodore Roosevelt, there was no irony that it was a good friend of Theodore Roosevelt that started pointing them out. His name was William Allen White. William Allen White was a newspaper man in Euphoria, Kansas, and he already knew what the KKK was all about. He wasn't ignorant of it, and he just started shouting it in every newspaper he published, and it just made the KKK so mad that they started responding.
Kill Whitey!
William Allen White would receive a ton of mail that was all death threats, and not just him. One of his reporters was going to move to Oklahoma, and the Klan informed him that their friends down there would be waiting for him. White's writings, however, would catch the attention of the governor, Henry Allen. Henry Allen paid attention when he learned that the Klan was allying with the railroad shop craftsman strike. The strike was taking place in Arkansas City, Kansas. Oh, excuse me, that's Arkansas City. The majority of those not striking, black. KKK wanted to hold their first parade in Kansas in solidarity with the strikers on July 7, 1922. But Henry Allen responded first. He made it clear that the Klan was a menace, and that any celebration by the KKK during the strike would be met with the National Guard. The Klan stopped the parade, but Governor Allen knew that this would not be enough. He sent his Attorney General, Richard Hopkins, down to Arkansas City to investigate the Klan's involvement. What the Attorney General uncovered at that time is unknown, but it was enough for the governor to make a further proclamation. He banned the wearing of masks on the streets in Kansas, which probably made for a very crappy Halloween. The Klan doubled down, though, as Governor Allen continued to investigate the KKK. The KKK recruited 400 members in Liberty, Kansas. They then flogged the mayor of Liberty for being Catholic and not letting them use the speech hall. In November of 1922, Attorney General Richard Hopkins completed a full investigation of the Klan's activities and put forth an ouster petition of the Ku Klux Klan. The petition stated two reasons. The first was that the KKK was a foreign corporation. Using a method similar to the modern-day RICO Act, the Kansas state government used a never-before-used law that said any corporation that sold any goods in Kansas that wasn't started in the state had to get a charter. The KKK sold membership for $10 and was started in Georgia. The second part of the petition was the fact that the KKK was a reemergence of the violent organization during the Reconstruction era and was copying the original's use of intimidation. Just as they were getting started, though, Governor Allen's and Attorney Governor Hopkins' term came to an end, and new elections had to take place. The Democrats won the governor's seat, and the Republicans the Attorney General's seat. This gave people who were standing up to the Klan insecurity. And so much insecurity so that the next election after, William Allen White would run for governorship on an anti-Klan platform because he believed the Klan had corrupted both parties. This fear proved to be unnecessary. The new Attorney General, Charles B. Griffith, kept up the fight and ultimately won. In early 1925, Kansas became the first state to oust the KKK. Being a so-called invisible empire, though, that wasn't what really finished them off. Before Griffith's court victory, the Klan's numbers were dwindling. Their wearing of masks, use of violence, and radical speeches turned many Kansans away. Finally, though, in May of 1926, William Allen White was able to declare the Klan fully dead.
Dr. Hiram Evans, the Imperial Wizard of the Kluxers, is bringing his consecrated shirt tail to Kansas this spring, and from gloomy caverns will make 5 Kansas speeches. We welcome him. Enter the wizard, sound the bull roarers, and the hugigs. Beat the tom-toms. He will see what was once a thriving and profitable hate factory and bigotorium now laughed into a busted community, where the cockeyed he-dragon wails for its firstborn, and the nightshirts of a once salubrious pageantry sag in the spring breezes and bag at the wobbly knees. The Kluxers in Kansas are as dejected and sad as a last year's bird's nest, afflicted with general debilitis, dizziness on going upstairs, and general aversion to female society.